If you are a neurodivergent professional or entrepreneur, whether that's ADHD, ADHD, OCD, or you don't resonate with any of these labels, but you know that your brain works differently than most people, and you're feeling torn because you want to grow, but everyone around you seems content with being average. So you keep falling back into old patterns because you feel guilty about wanting more than they do. You're going to want to stay to the end of this video because I'm going to break down the very first step you're going to need to take in order to resolve this. Welcome back to the Neurodivergent Superbrain series, brought to you by the 25-Hour Day. My name is Colin Response, internationally award-winning performing artist, entrepreneur, and global ambassador for the #1 luxury brand in the world. But most importantly, I did all of this with what most people call ADHD and obsessive compulsive disorder. I disagreed. So I built a business that's helped now over 150 neurodiverse entrepreneurs and professionals rewire their brains from feeling overwhelmed by lack of time, energy, or clarity to becoming masters at executing their ideas profitably and efficiently. Ultimately, so that they could cut their working hours in half, add an extra $10,000 to $20,000 a month to their income while having the freedom to live a fulfilled and balanced life in the process. And today I am blessed to be joined with our guest, Zion. Zion is a neurodivergent professional working in a company that helps individuals learn client success management and then place them into their new roles. And today, I'm going to show him why he's stuck so that he can be empowered to decide whether or not he wants to permanently remove this pattern from his life. And like usual, I'm going to do it while walking backwards. So let's get the step counter going and bring on our guest. How you feeling?
Feeling amazing. Thanks for having me, Colin.
It is my honor. So have your submission. And I'm going to pull it up and we'll just start by having you read it aloud.
Hey guys, my name's Zion, and I am in a very transformational point in my life. Most of my friends are still in college. I feel, even with my family, that complacency is normalized. I know what I need to do, but it tends to happen in seasons. I'll only get burst of motivation and fall back into my old frequency and choosing fun or even hanging out over personal growth. Balancing personal growth and relationships is hard for me.
Thank you, Zion, for that honesty. So what we're going to be diving into today is what I often call the morning of friendships. Not morning as in like, oh, look at the sun. I mean, death. And I'm not saying all your friends need to die. What I am saying is the thing that stands in most people's way at this stage is the grief and the fear of loss, which is what causes us to move back to certain patterns that are not productive in terms of moving us in the direction that we want to go because of the relationships that mean so much to us. I'm not here to say that you need to eliminate all of these relationships. What I am here to say is the frequency state of the fear and the grief that's causing you to go back to those behaviors, those frequency states are what is responsible for compromising your reasoning faculties and preventing you from being able to see more powerful solutions where it might be possible for you to have both. And that's what we're going to walk through today. We have right here that we know what we need to do. Underneath it, we have, but it tends to happen in seasons. My understanding, based on the way it's been articulated, is that that's not a good thing. So, if that's not a good thing, how would you rather it shows up instead of it happening in seasons?
Well, it happens once and it's consistent. Because I think when I'm saying I know what I need to do, I'm talking in terms of, just really focusing on myself, sales, just really basically lock in. So in terms of like it happens in seasons, I'm referring to like me really focusing on, what's important financially and business wise, if that makes sense.
Perfect. And when you say it happens once, you mean when you initiate this behavior that's best for you, that you're consistent in doing it and not stopping and starting and stopping and starting. Is that mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
How would you word that?
Mm, yeah, I think, and when I initiate it, it's consistent. It's fine.
Now, I only get bursts of motivation. How do you want to feel about your motivation?
I'm always motivated.
And I fall back into my old frequency. What would you rather happen instead?
I don't let my old frequency keep me back.
All right. So we might have found the sweet spot already. Let's get into this. when we talk about this umbrella effect, so important for us to remember, key is universal communication, which is frequency. And frequency is not this esoteric idea, as everybody makes it seem like it is. It is the nature of how our universe is functioning and how we are operating on a daily basis. The way that our brain is communicating to the outside world and to ourselves is also through frequency. But as it pertains to matter and our bodies, that frequency is translated into the form of emotion. So our emotion is our closest and most tangible link to frequency. It means that whatever information we associate with emotion, it's going to create retention in our brain. It's going to tell our brain this is important information. This is incredibly important for how we navigate any circumstance that we are looking to have a more favorable result of, because the universe and the world we live in doesn't share the same morality that human beings do. It doesn't care about good, it doesn't care about bad. It simply cares about what is. So, how is this relevant here? It's relevant because wherever it is that we put our focus, we are connecting that focus with emotion. When we connect that information with emotion, we tell our brain, this is important information. Why does that matter? Well, because our brain, unlike what most people think, they think that our brain's designed to take information in. Our brain is deleting information. It is eliminating information because there is infinite information. And if we took it all in, our head would explode off of our shoulders because there's too much information. So it's determining, well, what is relevant? What is relevant to keep? What is it that I can perceive through my senses, through my ears, my nose, my taste, my hands? What's important to perceive? Because right now, Zion, if you close your eyes, and everyone watching this, close your eyes. And now I want you to think about the feeling of your tongue resting on the bottom of your mouth. And I want you to think about how, for the first few minutes of this episode, that's been happening, but you never noticed it. You never thought about it. There's no part of you that was thinking about your tongue resting or your lungs breathing, but it was happening. That's because your brain is saying, well, this is not relevant information right now. Doesn't mean it's not there, just means you're not perceiving it. Why does this matter? Because what we perceive is determined by the magnitude of the emotion that is associated with the information, because that creates retention in the brain. That tells the brain, don't delete this, pay attention to this. Which means if we want to achieve something, we have to be focused on the destination and the intended result. We cannot be focused on eliminating the thing we do not want. Zion's answer to what he would rather have, rather than falling back into the old frequency, was to not let his old frequency take him back, essentially. What Zion's brain is hearing is old frequency. It doesn't care about whether you don't want to fall back. It doesn't care about whether you want to let it. All it hears is old frequency. And the more you don't want that old frequency, the more emotion that is associated with it. It might be the frustration. It might be the annoyance. It might be the guilt. Doesn't matter what the emotion is, just matters the intensity of it. That fires with the information of old frequency. That creates retention in your brain and tells your brain, oh, this is important. Well, we got to find more of this. We got to make sure we get rid of everything else because Zion cares the most about this. The more frustrated you could even get about it, the more you will see it. So our first step is to determine what is the polarity of your old frequency, meaning the opposite.
Well, I guess new frequency, the Zion who is focused, is consistent, a role model to others, impactful.
Love it. I mean, you can say the new frequency, or you could just say the frequency that is the Zion that is this, right?
I'd say the frequency that is the Zion.
Now, to everyone watching this, it becomes abundantly clear when we think about falling back into the old frequency and not letting the old frequency get you back, that in attempts to do this, your results are going to be substantially less effective than the actions being taken to, say, maintain a consistent frequency of the Zion that is focused, consistent, impactful, and a role model. And so instead of falling back, what are we doing into this? Stepping into, or what is resident for you?
Embodying. Yeah.
So choosing fun or hanging out over personal growth. How would you rather feel?
Yeah, I choose to prioritize the things that will get me closer to my goals.
Balancing personal growth and relationships is hard for me.
Yeah, I mean, we really only have to change one word is easy, I feel like.
Right. Now we're ready to move this to the second phase. Now that we know what we need to do, which is focusing on myself and logging in, focusing on what's important financially and business wise, knowing that when I initiate those things, I'm consistent, I'm always motivated, I'm in the frequency, I choose to prioritize the things that will get me closer to my goals, and balancing personal growth and relationships are easy for me. Well, here's the obvious elephant in the room, which is I don't feel like I'm embodying the frequency of Zion that is focused, consistent, impactful, and a role model to others right now, though I believe it's possible. However, in order for us to get there, we have to first recalibrate our mind to the true destination. We can't be asking the questions about how do I not fall back into the patterns that are destructive to me. My brain hears patterns that are destructive to me. And don't get me wrong, asking questions is good because that's our next stage. But questions have a core function when it comes to our brain or our consciousness. They open up possibility. They don't necessarily create solutions, but they are a necessity for solutions because they shift things from declarations to infinite possibilities. But we have to make sure that we remember that the universe has no morality. And we can't operate in communication with the universe as if it has morality, or else we're going to omit certain information we shouldn't, or include information that is irrelevant. For instance, if I say, how do I stop falling back into my old frequency? The universe hears two things. One, it hears old frequency and emotion, and so that creates retention. But the other thing it hears is question, which opens up, expands the mind to infinite possibilities. Not infinite possibilities about how not to do that thing, just infinite possibilities and fall back into old frequency. That's what it hears. And so your mind expands to all the ways of falling back into those old frequencies, consciously and unconsciously. And even as I say that, for a moment, when you think about it, do you notice how, when you're asking those questions, solutions aren't really what's coming? It's more so the thought of the falling back into the frequency. And that's because your mind is oriented and is tuned to that, and your consciousness is expanding. Now, it's great. Your consciousness, you want it to be open and expanding, but we have to orient it first, or else we are going to just create more possibility and then compound further emotion, which is going to cause that cycle to continue. It almost feels like there's a force, there's like a momentum that is like keeps drawing us back. There is, but we are unconsciously the creator of that momentum. And many people will tell you that, but don't actually tell you how to create a new momentum. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So our first step is we orient our senses to the version of ourselves that we enjoy the most, or the experience or circumstance we enjoy the most. Now we have the true destination. Awesome. Now, if we open up our consciousness, we're going to see that we'll be expanded to a multitude of possibilities that are oriented towards these things, not the things we want to stay away from. So now we move into the stage of forming those questions in a very particular way. But what's most important is that all of these questions are impossible to ask unless you have first reframed this to the destination. None of these questions can exist. When I see the submission from your initial submission was, I keep choosing having fun or hanging out over personal growth. And I mentioned to you when we first started that when we are oriented towards the negative, if we're oriented, what we call as humans the negative, ultimately the thing we don't want, when we're oriented towards that, we are compromising our reasoning faculties. So we're at a lower state of emotion. So we don't have the same availability to information that would be useful to us because it's been deleted. Like this information is not available to us. Information around the thing we don't want is available to us. So when we see something like this, I keep choosing fun and hanging out over personal growth. The only solutions that could come to somebody's mind, even if it's a question, the question is, how do I start choosing personal growth over fun or hanging out with my friends? But when we orient this to the affirmative, I choose prioritizing things that get me closer to my goals. And our consciousness opens up to, well, how can I prioritize things that will get me closer to my goals? Part of my consciousness opens up to, well, there isn't actually anything about fun or friends that interferes with me accomplishing my goals. It is the manner in which I am engaging or the type of fun that I am having that was interfering with my goals. So it's very possible to ask the question, what can I do to prioritize the things that get me closer to my goals? And the answer to that could be spending time with people you like or friends who contribute to you getting closer to your goals. Like the very same thing that was taking you away from it in one context could be the same thing moving you towards it. And why is that possible? Because the universe has infinite polarities. You can't have the negative without the positive. If this exists, this also must be possible. But if we're over here, our faculty is compromised. We can't actually see the solution. And so we get trapped in this place and like, oh, I don't want to get rid of this person or that person. And that's the only solution we can think of when there are a multitudes more. And I'm not saying that every person that in your life you keep falling back with is somebody that needs to stay in your life. I'm just saying that those aren't the only two options. There are more. But in order for us to orient to those things, we have to ask these questions. And what's most important is that what comes up when we ask these questions, Zion, is the natural next steps, which is if we're going to ask the question, well, how do I lock in? The next natural question becomes, what is locking in? Like, what does that mean to me? Does it mean a certain amount of hours? Does it mean that, is it a specific feeling? Is it a result of achievement? It means something. What comes up for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a little bit of everything. Um, I don't know. When I think of locking in, the first thing I think about is results, is achievement
And then the achievement of what specifically?
of, I guess, well, in my specific like occupation, closing deals consistently.
Cool. Now, what does it mean to close deals consistently? Does that mean one a day? Is it a percentage of the calls that you have? Is it the amount of money you're making on a monthly basis? It can be many different definitions.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I haven't even thought about that. What does consistency mean? Well, I mean, best case scenario is, I mean, two a day, I guess we could say.
So now we have something clear. Okay, you locking in on what's important financially, business wise, means the achievement of closing 2 deals a day. Does that feel resonant, accurate?
I mean, I don't know. Now thinking about it doesn't sound as exciting. The thing, Colin, for me, it's like because those are results, like, does it make it accurate to form belief around a result? Like closing deals. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm a little stuck.
It's great. It's great. That's why we're here. So, the first thing we need to focus on is we need to release everything that we believe is true or the right way. And we need to step into there is no right, there is no wrong, there is only the truth. And so, when we think about focusing on achieving or locking in, how could you ever, in any circumstance, any universe, parallel reality, Zion, achieve locking in when you don't know what it is?
You can't.
You cannot. So is it any surprise to you now why you've been unable to lock in?
No, I guess not. Yeah.
Do you think it's possible that when you actually define what locking in is, that it might become significantly easier to determine it, to see it, to measure your behaviors against it, to see what things would need to be improved to achieve it, and to possibly even see the areas where you're already doing it?
Yeah, 100%.
This is the power of shifting things towards the affirmative. It's so natural to have a feeling inside of wanting to achieve more while simultaneously living in a world where everybody is spewing out platitudes like, I'm locked in, I'm dialed in, I've broken through, I'm in abundance. All of these things that are entirely subjective. But if we assign those things to our circumstance, well, we'll find ourselves in a pickle because abundance to someone can mean something very different than for you. But if you feel like abundance is a good thing, but you haven't yet defined it, you will be like a person without a map trying to get into a building that they don't know the address for in a city that they don't know, and you spend your entire life looking for it. The worst part is you might pass that building many times, but you won't even know. So we're going to get the address, we're going to get the coordinates, and we're going to get the unit number so that you know when you're on the floor beneath, oh shit, on the wrong floor. I'm at the right door. I'm at 301. I need to be at 401. That's quite close. But if you don't know that, you could spend hours on that floor when all you have to do is go up the staircase and you're literally underneath it. I share this to say it's accessible to you once we know where to look. So when you're locked in, maybe it has something to do with 2 deals a day. Maybe it doesn't. But maybe there's other aspects. It doesn't only have to be one thing. But when you think about locking in to you, what does that feel like?
Yeah, I've just been thinking about it. I think why I was confused at first is because I'm not necessarily certain that you can lock into a result, but you can lock into a process. So, in terms of locking in, I guess a better way to conceptualize that is achieving, like just going through like my day-to-day routine, just sticking to the things that I say that I'm going to do.
Great. So locking in, sticking to the thing that I say I'm going to do. I'm going to get back here. Love it. And then focusing on what's important financially and business wise. So, what is important financially and business wise?
Yeah, I mean, I guess really anything on a day-to-day that complements me on sales calls that that complements towards like financial success.
Okay. Now, what is financial success?
Um, well, 30K per month for me is like what I want to be at.
Now we know that 30K per month, if it could be achieved with 1 deal a day, would you be happy?
Um, well, to answer your question, no,
All right. Why not?
because I mean, typically I have more than one opportunity per day to close, right? So which right now I'm not in a position where one deal a day would hit that 30K per month. But if it only took one deal a day to hit 30K per month, that's a good question. I don't think I'd be satisfied because I just feel like I can do better than one deal a day in
Okay.
general.
So now we're having a greater clarity around what Zion's definition of what's important financially and locking in really mean. We're starting to see that it's not just about the amount of money you're making because it says what's important financially, but what we're talking about is beyond financial. I'm saying, okay, you can close 2 deals a day and make 30K, but what if you close one? You're like, well, I want to close more. But if it resulted in the same amount, well, then clearly there's another aspect that has to do with your own feelings of what you believe is possible for you.
Yeah,
And that's great. So let's get clarity on what that is, because that might be percentage of deals closed a day. That might be, I mean, to be honest, like percentage makes the most logical sense just because volume could change.
exactly. I agree. I was gonna say percentage is better for sure. Achievement. So I was gonna say 50, but I want to be better than 50. I want to be better than half. So I mean, we can just put 60.
Now, would you be happy with closing 60% of the deals that you have and making 30K a month?
100%. Yeah.
So isn't that so interesting that if you were making 30K a month, but you were only closing 20% of the deals, that you would not be?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it is interesting, but I don't know. Like looking at percentages like that, like there's just whether it's 100K per month and 20%, like there's still room for improvement to me.
There you go. So now we have a clear actual definition of what's actually important to Zion.
Damn, yeah. That's good.
For somebody else, they'd be like, man, I just care about the number. If I get on a call once a month or 5 times a month, but they're just big deals, and I close the deals and I make 30K, I'm chilling. For somebody else, it would be all about performance. but everybody's scenario is different. So instead of focusing on myself and locking in, I am sticking to or fulfilling the things that I say I'm going to do day to day that complement my ability to make $30,000 a month by closing 60% of my deals. How much easier do you believe it would be to achieve that and measure that than stopping feeling distracting or being pulled into a lesser version of yourself?
Yeah, way more. I mean, with specifics and precision, it just has more weight to it as well, for sure.
So this is what I want you to seize on, is that when you say something like, when I initiate, I'm consistent, what you may have thought was the challenge wasn't really the challenge. It would be impossible for you to initiate and be consistent in your behaviors to achieve something you haven't defined. How? How would you even be consistent? How could you measure the consistency? You literally can't. It's not possible. It's just an
Yeah.
arbitrary feeling of, am I being consistent? Like, what does it even mean? That's why I underlined this. You said, sticking to the things that I say I'm going to do. And this is a message not just for you, Zion, but for everyone here. Most neurodiverse entrepreneurs, most neurodiverse professionals, they get plagued by this idea of not doing the things they said they were going to do and getting distracted or pulled in this direction or that direction. And there is a part of you that must have some compassion for yourself first, so that you can clear the emotional residue and actually see that it is completely legitimate for you not to stick to the things you say you are going to do if you haven't even determined how those things impact what you want. That's the reason you can't stick to any of the things. That's the first reason, at least. How could you stick to the things you say you're going to do when the things you're choosing to do are kind of arbitrary because they haven't been directly tied to a result? And you can't ever get any sort of positive feedback loop around how productive those behaviors are because you can't measure them against your achievement for something, which means if you're doing a thing that you don't particularly like to do or you're not having that much enjoyment doing it, why would you want to keep doing it when it's not getting you a result? And it's not to say it's not getting you any result, but because you haven't defined the destination, you can't measure whether or not it's getting you where you want to go. So why would you feel motivated to do a thing that doesn't feel good for no reason? And this is happening on a deeper level. Most people are thinking, I know it's good for me, but that's not enough. Your brain needs to actually draw the connections to understand that this behavior makes things easier for me. Right now, your brain thinks this behavior makes things harder for me. So you're working against your brain, and your brain is fighting back. And this is why you're facing this resistance. But there's an easier way where your brain wants to do these things, and you're just like jumping on your brain's back. You're like, let's fucking do this shit. Like it's very possible, but it takes knowing the core neurological factors that are impacting the patterns that you are in so that you can very easily deconstruct them, reconstruct them, put frameworks into place that naturally expand your own awareness to see what is possible.
One of the biggest takeaways is what the reframe does is allow your brain context to think about things on the frequency of the outcome of the situation. Because it's like you said, like, oh, how do I like get away from my old frequency? All it hears is just the old frequency and it just re-engineers like old frequency thoughts instead of what can I do to surround myself around people that embody the new frequency, right? And then it just starts giving thought patterns and you'll come to that the answer to the question eventually. Yeah, man. It's awesome. Nobody who has been around me like for the past like years of my life very close has like the same sort of beliefs. I feel like I was closed-minded to even exploring people who might be around me who are. And now this also has revealed to me that I'm not being specific with, certain things. Now my prospects won't be. You already know how that goes. So it's been really good, man. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
This is the purpose of this series, on to allow people to expand their awareness and understand that they have been focusing all their time and energy around the symptoms of the challenge that they're facing, not the core neurological factor that's actually responsible for them repeating the same patterns over and over and over again. And so they spend tons of money, they spend tons of time, they spend tons of energy We're talking about decades of their life. We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars in most cases, some people more than that, to try to resolve this. If you are somebody who has found themselves in cycles, there's a link in the description of this video to one of our free masterclasses so that you can attend and you can see what is possible for you when you learn how to leverage the way that the neurodivergent brain naturally works. Unfortunately, right now, we are currently at capacity at the time of this recording. But if you know you have the capacity for more, there is a simple way that will systematically create new cycles that are productive for you, that are moving you in the direction you want to go. Because if these cycles can exist, it would be impossible for these cycles not to exist. And you know they do, because you've seen people in these cycles of success where everything they do is moving them with momentum more and more and more and more and more into the direction of winning, more into the things they enjoy, more into the person they want to be, more money, more time, more freedom, more fulfillment that is available to you too. And if deep down you know that is possible for you, there's a link in the description of this video. Click on it so that you can attend one of our free masterclasses and you can see what is possible for you when you learn how to leverage the way that the neurodivergent brain naturally works. Or you can continue to go through the cycle when you know you don't have to.
To all you guys watching, use that to your advantage. Colin, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure.
Honestly, perfect timing as well. It could not be better timing.
Every moment you occupy a state of success, lack, love, fear.